Um, it's difficult, I think, to continue to kind of come up here and kind of talk about, quite honestly, some of the same things. I think that this group continues to go to work, and they continue to try to prepare, and so I'm very pleased with their energies and their attitude towards this. I think that we're not where we want to be right now, but we've got to finish some games. The last 3 games that we played, we could be sitting there at 6-3 also, and very easily. And I think the hardest thing about that, and someone asked me this question earlier, is it better to lose by a margin or better to lose kind of in the last seconds of the ball game like we have basically the last 3. And the last second ones, I've said multiple times, I'm not a very good loser, but those ones just kind of rip at you. They rip at you emotionally. And this last week against Appalachian State, it kind of ripped at us emotionally. I think very, very similar, quite honestly, to the 2 previous games. We had some opportunities actually early on in the game to kind of put the thing away, and that's something we've got to learn how to do is finish. Offensively, obviously, we scored a few more points than what we've been scoring, and so there has been some work done there, and so I'm pleased with the fact that we're kind of moving forward along those lines. I think that a little more frustrating, obviously, defensively, in that the 2-minute drives here of late have kind of caught up with us. Appalachian State obviously had one right before the end of the half, and then one at the end of the game, and we work on that extremely hard in terms of 2-minute. Probably very few people in the country probably expend as much time and energy as we do in preseason camp and spring practice, and then on a weekly basis from a 2-minute standpoint. And so those are things that we've got to learn how to finish. But I think we also kind of recognize who we can be, and that's also very important, is knowing what we can do and what we're capable of. And we're choosing to focus on that right now rather than what everybody else tends to want to focus on. Obviously excited about this game. It's a big game for us because obviously it's the next game. It's a big game because it's a conference game. But I think that obviously anytime you're playing your in-state rival, you have to live with this one a little bit longer on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's what makes the games, rivalry games, more special. This one, I think, has been is continuing to be even more intriguing because of the past ball games and how close the games have been. And so we recognize that Lafayette's got a very, very good football team. We have a tremendous amount of respect for them as a football team and where they're at right now, because I think they've continued to improve through the course of the season. Started off a little bit slow and have really picked it up since that time frame. And we've got to respond accordingly, knowing that they've got some momentum at this point in time, and go out and play really, really great football. And again, I know I say that every week, but that is really kind of the key, is you go out and play great football and everything else tends to take care of itself. And so we need to go out and play great football this weekend. So questions?
You said that it's difficult to come up there and talk about the same thing. So having said that, how do you kind of make your message fresh every week to say, this is what we want to fix? Obviously, like you said, some of the same things. So how do you keep your message fresh to the players?
No, I don't know that it's the same things necessarily need to be fixed. I think we're in the progress of fixing those things. I think that it gets difficult to go up and talk about close losses. It's not necessarily the same things that are impactful. It's just that close losses are difficult to talk about. It's they're painful. And I was talking more to that than I was things that are necessarily broke that need to be fixed. Are there things that we can improve on? Every football team in the country needs to improve on things. There's things that right now that I think that we're working through that, and we're finding some other ways to get some things done. Just as Lafayette has. Lafayette early on in the season was throwing the football around a lot more. They've kind of not doing that near as much now and having a little bit more effectiveness on offense. And it's not that they can't throw it. It's just that they're a little bit more committed to the run game right now, and that's been working for them. That's what everybody's going to do. I think that we've got some great challenges this week in terms of their offensive production because of especially the two running backs and the physical offensive line, and then they've got an outstanding quarterback that can beat you with his arms and his legs. And defensively, especially up front, I think they're really big, and they're a big physical group up front. And they're relying on those guys to get pressure, and so we've got some unique challenges again this week. And I think to answer your question fully, I think that every week becomes a unique challenge, and that every week you're set up about again. This is maybe coming from my West Point days to some degree, but we have a new mission every week, and the past mission is over, and now you have a new mission, and you focus on the new mission rather than working your way through other issues, and so we're excited about this next opportunity, and I'm not going to languish in the past. I'm going to look forward to the future and recognize what we can do, because I think our football team knows what they are capable of, and then we just need to finish it. And we were early in the season. That's even probably the more frustrating thing for the team, is early on the season during the close games we were winning. We were finding a way to win it, and the last three have not been that way. And I think that makes them even more frustrated, because I do think they know what they're capable of.
Because usually that's the opposite. Usually a team finds itself finds a way to win the close games later in the year after they mesh together. So it's been kind of the opposite. Is there anything that you can pinpoint to that, or
no? I mean,
competition?
Well, I think that certainly against Texas State and Appalachian State, both those games, I think we had a chance, as I mentioned earlier, to kind of put the game away early, and we've got to figure out how to do that. And there's a process to that too. We didn't put teams away early in the season either, I think that. One of the real challenges, again, is maintaining that ability to be able to see yourself for who you are, and that's being critical of where you're not doing as well, and making the changes that need to be made, or adjusting. If all of a sudden maybe some of those are not, you're not capable of doing some of those things, and then but also maintaining some confidence. And I think that's what was great about early in the season, is we had some confidence in that ability to be able to find a way to win a game. And now we've just got to we need to go back and find that same amount of confidence. And a lot of that we don't have to put ourselves in that situation, and that's kind of where I was going with it. We've got opportunities to put people away, and we need to learn how to put people away. And that has been a little bit of a problem, quite honestly. Since we've been here a little bit to some degree, is finding that ability to be able to put people away. Now, we're not at a point to where, we're from a team standpoint, athletically, maturity, to where we haven't necessarily been dominant, to where you can just go out and just dominate an opponent. That doesn't happen very much in college football. I mean, obviously, to kind of prove that, we played Texas A&M there a couple weeks ago. We just beat Auburn, and so it's very difficult to go out there and just truly dominate anymore. But we're certainly capable of doing those things. But we got to play great football every snap, and our twos have got, when they come in, they've got to play extremely well. And then, as I mentioned after the game, and this is something that I've got to learn how to do, and it's frustrating me to some degree, because I've been doing this for quite some time. Now, every place has some uniqueness. West Point had some very, very unique things about it. And you have to try to work your way through those things. For whatever reason, since we've been here, when we've had an SEC game, that following week, we have not played up to our capabilities after the SEC games, unless it was another SEC game. And that is frustrating to me, because there's no question that there's a difference between Texas A&M's athletes and Appalachian State's athletes. I'm not taking anything away from Appalachian State. They went out and they played hard. They beat us. But I am saying that whenever you're watching video, there's a difference. And as coaches, we recognize it, but don't think that the players don't too. And it's not the name. It's not the logo on the helmets. There's a difference. And we've got to understand that you respect every team, you fear none, and that you give equal respect to everybody that you're getting ready to play. And understand that they're more than capable, and I'm sure that after our close loss to to Texas A&M, I'm sure Appalachian State was even more excited and enthralled with the opportunity to play us. We need to have that same kind of approach. And while I recognize it, I'm obviously not getting that across to the players well enough that they understand that. And that's something that I've tried a few tricks, okay, in terms of adjusting practice schedules to, not showing as much video on the opponent, to a lot of different things to try to get over this. We're still not there, and I've got to figure that out. That's my job.
How has this rivalry evolved since you've been here?
Well, I think it certainly has for me because of not being from the area, and so consequently because of that, you don't know about some that you're not involved in the past history. History always makes rivalries more interesting. So the longer you're a part of that history, then the more interesting the rivalry becomes. I think we don't tend to recruit that much against them, actually. Surprisingly, okay, we don't, and so the impact in terms of recruiting is generally not necessarily as much. And then we certainly have we have quite a few players that are from out of state, and so they don't have a history. And so now what you hope is that between our conversations, I'm talking about the coaches, the players, but more of the players to the players, they're the ones that can, I think, maybe express a rivalry game more so than even the coaches can. And because I think of how tight these games have been, how hard fought the games have been, how interesting the games have been, then I think that is that legacy that continues to get passed on from one class to the next, that makes sure that our freshmen understand the significance of a rivalry game.
Coach, you mentioned that you need to get back to finding that same amount of confidence that you had at the beginning of the
Right.
year. With finding ways to win, and at one point being 3-1, and at one point being 2-0 in conference, now at this point, and I know that you talk and the players talk about not looking ahead, but no matter what happens, you know that you'll finish 6-6 at best. Is it hard to maybe get that confidence back with the team, knowing that not all their goals are still out there in front of them, and they're at the point that there's just 3 games left with a chance?
Sure. There was some goals, and there's still obviously an opportunity for a bowl game potentially, although it's a push now. And I think that one of the things that I would like for our players to walk away from here with is more than championships, and quite honestly, more than degrees. While those things are very significant to me, don't get me wrong, I'm not understating the value of those things, because those are things that are important to me. I think that, again, not to get back up on my soapbox, but I think that individual pride about who you are as a person and how you go about your business is more than probably anything else. I think that's one of the things that this game teaches more than anything else. And probably more than anything else, again, to be repetitive, I want our players to walk away with that. And so while the chance for our senior class to walk out of here with a conference championship ring, that stings me, that they're not going to have that. That individual pride part is more important to me, because that ring's going to last a little while. And I can say that because I have some, and they're sitting in a little box, right, in my office. And quite honestly, I don't look at them very often. But that individual pride thing, that kind of sticks with you forever. that's a little bit more important. So to me, to kind of come back again to answer your question, and I know that I'm dancing around. I'm not really dancing around. I'm wanting to well state my. I think that if you're made of the right stuff, then it doesn't make any difference, because it's not about those other things. It's about how am I going to respond? How am I going to handle the here and now? And that's the. But that is the challenge. Are all of them mature enough to handle the here and now along those lines? Because that's more important than those other things.
What do you think it'll take at the beginning of the game to kind of take their momentum from them, since they've won games in a row and you guys are on a losing streak? So just the beginning of the game, what you want to do is just take the momentum from the game.
I don't know that momentum's actually established at the start of a game. They've got momentum, I think, going through practice this week and some of those other kinds of things. I think that basically the game's from the opening kickoff, it's about how you play and how physical you're going to play, and are you going to play the game right. And then I think the momentum's actually established from that point in time on. I don't know that momentum carries you through the week of practice, but I think most players will tell you that when it's kickoff time, all that kind of goes out the window, and it's all about just playing football. And then obviously the momentum of the game starts taking over. And if you're playing well early on, that generally allows for momentum, and it steals momentum away from your opponent.
When talking about maybe some of the goals not being there, how great of a time does the rivalry game come, knowing that a lot of the win might have been sucked out of the players after that loss to Appalachian State, but with having a rivalry game coming up after that, do you think that it'll add a little bit of flair?
I don't really think so, Tabby. Now, I'm sure with some it will, but I think that goes back to my point that it really shouldn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's about that next opportunity. It's about the chance to play. It's about the opportunity to go out in front of friends and family and TV and just expose your heart, expose who I am, regardless of who I'm playing. And I think that's the significant part.
How was practice Sunday with everything that happened? And I know that's usually a light day and more of the back kind of get in, but what was the attitude like out there?
It was good. It was good. I think that we're focused, and I think this team understands who they can be. And are there frustrations? Are there disappointments? Yeah, there is, and that's life. And now it's about responding and moving forward. We can't get those games back, and we can look back and say, well, we could have won it here, we could have won it here, and that's true. I mean, a few plays here on every snap, and everything kind of changes. But I think this group, again, they appreciate each other, and anytime that you've got a group that is close, as our group is, they tend to rally around each other, and that brings you through sometimes some of those disappointing moments, recognizing that I have another snap, and that next snap I get to do what I love to do and what I'm capable of doing. They've got another snap this week.
How difficult is Broadway to prepare for?
He's difficult because he's experienced, and so he's got that maturity to be able to handle situations. And I'm talking about the ability to be able to intellectually see things, but also the maturity to stay calm and composed in difficult situations. He's got a strong arm, and he has the ability to also take off and run and beat you with his feet. And he's a physical runner when he takes off. He's 220 pounds, and he's physical. So he's a tremendous challenge. Now, I think their focal point is the two running backs right now. And so it's not that we're not worried about Broadway, but their offense has changed somewhat. And the focal point is the two backs who are outstanding.
Is that difficult? Like you said, the running backs, everyone talks about him, star power, but like you said, the running backs are just what you need to focus on. So what's good about the running game that maybe you don't see until you get on the field with them?
Well, I think their offensive line is really a physical group, and they take pride in that. They're big, they're physical. And then you have two different styles of when you talk about the two running backs. Harris is going to come downhill on you, right? And he's going to lower his pads, and he's going to try to get the best of you. And it's not that he can't run away from you, because he can. But that's his style. And McGuire, he can be physical, but he's going to try to run away from you, and he's going to use balance and agility and those type of things. And they're also going to try to get him the ball significantly out of the backfield, throwing the football to him with screens and downfield throws. And he's got outstanding speed, breakaway speed. And so you have, even though the play, again, as we've talked before to some degree earlier in the season about kind of a similar situation, while the play call might be this exact same play call, defensively you have to play both running backs a little bit differently because they have a different style on how they run the play. And so while it's really easy for the offensive line and for the coordinator to call the play because it's the exact same play, defensively you're almost seeing two different plays because of which running back's in there. And you have to be able to focus on that too, not just on the play design, but also which back is in there and how he's going to execute the play.
Sounds kind of similar to Terry's and Tyler King, but I know that you said that
Correct.
Offensive line, you haven't got the type of play that you want out of them. What are some things that you can do in practice to maybe try to improve that up front to where maybe y'all can have the same type of running attack?
Well, I don't know that that's the direction we need to head right now, because I think we've already kind of gone down that path. Their effort's good. They know what they're doing. And, we're not getting as much movement as what we'd like. I think that Centarius and Tyler are outstanding backs, but if there's no place to run, then it gets more difficult. I think we're doing some things right now that have improved those opportunities to run, as I think Centarius had 60-some-odd yards rushing this last week, and there were a few more holes for him to be able to run through because we've changed some of our running game and how we're approaching it. We're now not necessarily going up there and we're position blocking people rather than necessarily trying to move people. Where early in the season we were trying to move people. I'm not faulting the young men's effort. It wasn't happening, and so we've had to adjust.
What does this last game mean to you for just the opportunity for just your players to be in front of their own fans for the last time?
Well, it's very emotional. I'm not going to lie to you. Again, that journey that we had started when they were freshmen. This was kind of our first recruiting class. Now, a lot of this group left last year because they never redshirted, 7 of them. But this senior class, along with a couple juniors that are now in the senior class because they didn't redshirt also, these guys are all guys that we recruited, and so I was in their homes. And, I've gone through some times with them, watching them mature as young men in terms of some good things and some bad things, and so the moment that I quit getting really, really involved with the players, I'm talking about not just out on the field, I'm just talking about who they are and what I would like to see them become through all this. Then it'd be time for me to hang it up. And so this is going to be very emotional, that I know this is the last time that I'm going to see them on this field, because I've taken this journey with them, and immensely proud of the senior class. I'm immensely proud of their efforts and who they've become through this whole thing. And for that, any little part that I played in them growing up and being a part of this, I'm immensely proud of that. Just like a father's proud. I'm proud along those lines, even though I'm not their father. I have that same kind of feelings about that.
Speaking of emotion, it seems like this is more emotional group that I've seen in 5 years in here. They lose, they really take it to heart.
Yeah, isn't that great?
It is, and then you don't want to see it because you want to know that they poured out.
No, I want to see it every time that they lose.
Yeah.
Because
you don't want to see it because you want to know if they did
Yeah,
pull it out.
no, I'm with you there.
Yeah, but just seeing that, to a point that they get choked up and not able to talk. Even Pete, being a guy who's only been here for a year, how, much more does that take these losses to be even more difficult to swallow? Because these are guys who they really, really want it to the point point, but they don't care how much emotion they show, like in public or on camera or anything, because it's really personal to them.
Well, I think it speaks a little bit again to I continue to go back to that one point is who are you? And if you're the right kind of person and you feel like that not only your efforts but your efforts of your teammates that there's in some form or fashion that I didn't get it accomplished, I didn't get it done, and I've let that guy next to me, that I've let him down, then I because I feel the same way afterwards. That's the way that you want them to be, and we finally got. I think that culture is a part of us. That is who we are. That has been established as us as a football team. And there's other things, again, that we need to kind of continue to work on that as part of that culture. I think we've got great integrity and character with this group, and certainly from an academic standpoint, we've been outstanding. And but this part of growing up and being men is that part of that culture. We've established that also, and I'm proud of that fact. Now, I would love to see them have successes too, because I recognize how fleeting this time is in their overall, life. I mean, this thing goes by so fast. So, and I feel for that because I know that they got limited opportunities. They think they've got all these opportunities until all of a sudden they become seniors, and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more difficult. But I'm proud of the group, and I'm proud of that emotion that's been like that, and I'm proud of the guys that we've brought in that have, as you mentioned, with Pete Thomas, just being that engaged that fast with the team, because that's one of those other attributes that I want our team. I want there to be more than just football and academics and all that. I want these guys to be bonded for life, and so some of those things we are accomplishing.
What conversations have you had with him recently? Because coming in and talking about wanting to have closure on his own career and trying to get this team to a point that they've never been. And I know that he puts a lot of himself, and
Right.
with blaming himself for things that happen, you can just see again the emotion that he has. So what are the conversations been like with him? Just feeling like he wants to do more.
Well, Pete and I obviously we talk daily. At length, and not just necessarily about football. We talk about other things, and he, you probably need to talk with him about that, and just, I mean, I know where he's at, but he can probably do a much better job expressing his thoughts than I can.